Hi, everyone. Welcome to the podcast today, and thanks for tuning in. Joining me today is one of my favorite colleagues and someone I'm fortunate enough to work with on a daily basis, and that's Paul Meredith. So Paul is one of our leaders in the time management area, and so the perfect person to provide information on overall the marketplace, the direction of the product, and a lot more. So thanks for joining me, Paul.
Yeah, thanks, Imran. Thanks for inviting me. Always a pleasure and happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So SuccessFactors just made some big news launching a new time tracking product. That's super exciting. Tell me about the background of some of that decision, like the thought process and what was going on there.
Definitely. Yeah, it is very exciting. It's also consuming a lot of my work time, but that's all in a good way. So, a lot of this, the time tracking product that we're just bringing to market now a lot of it is based on customer feedback. Customers have been telling us a lot of what they need over the last year or so, and we've definitely been taking that on board, but also a lot due to the market changing. One example of that would be the last year, the European Court of Justice ruling, where it was essentially what it's saying is that each country in the European Union, for companies working in the European Union, they have to be able to track their employees' time. It's a lot based on the things that we're seeing in society of employee burnout, the 24 hours always on kind of thing, where there's European law have just said, look, we need to be able to stop this. And we've seen this already in places like Volkswagen and others that have just said, turn off the email servers at night. This is another way around that. It's a similar kind of thing. So a lot of it is coming from customer demand and regulation. And if you look at time is a lot based around regulations, right? And compliance with those regulations.
Sure.
But we also noticed that, many customers are happy with what we've offered so far with Employee Central, with the timesheet there. But on the other end of the scale, we've got customers who need, the full-blown workforce management suite, which we also offer through our solution extension through time and attendance management by Workforce Software.
Yep.
So, and that is really geared towards, certain industries, manufacturing and healthcare are just two examples of that, where, shift scheduling is really essential for running the business on a day-to-day basis. But what we noticed was there's a really large unaddressed market here, a large white space, if you will, in between that, where the ones that are happy with what we have right now and the ones who need the full workforce management suite. There's a lot of customers who don't need that full-on workforce management suite. They just need a little extra from us, especially around time tracking, to complement our existing, robust time off capabilities. So that's where time tracking comes in. It fills that, if you want to say gap, but it fills that space where a lot of customers need that. So that's why we're doing this. So, and why a new product? Why not just add it to Employee Central? Well, the real simple answer to that is this is business. There's been a lot of investment into time tracking. Yep. And really what we noticed that only around about 50% of our current EC time customers actually use or need a time tracking functionality. So it really didn't seem fair, to be honest, to increase the price of Employee Central and put all that in there for those customers who are not going to use that. But rather, it just seemed a more just way to go about it is then to offer it as a separate add-on functionality to Employee Central, just for those customers who need it.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I think that kind of lines up with industry norms. But if we're being honest, this is certainly an area where there's been confusion for customers, and to some degree that's driven by changing marketplace dynamics. Some of it has also been us changing our strategy, which we have to adjust and adapt to the changing dynamics in the marketplace. Can you give me some background there on kind of where we've adjusted the last few years?
And I think you've nailed it there. It really is around, it's a very dynamic space. The market has been very dynamic. Things are changing rapidly. And as we've seen over the last year, how much things have changed and how much people have to adapt. But yeah, we've changed direction too, in terms of just simplifying our offerings and simplifying what we have out there for customers. So, we've simplified. We had 2 solution extension partners. And so what we've done is kind of reduced that down to 1 solution extension partner. because of things that happen in the market, right? Whether it's
Yep.
marketplace acquisitions, things like that. So we've had to change direction to some degree.
Yep.
We've had great partners, and we still have a great partner in Workforce Software. So that, plus the fact that we're now building out our own product, and as I mentioned before, filling that space between what we currently have and what customers need, and up to at the point of then the more serious workforce management suite, which, to be honest, that's where these niche players come in, and that's where something like Workforce Software comes in. So we're trying to make it a lot simpler for our customers and for the market in general to understand what our strategy is and streamline that whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into some of the details a little bit more. So what are the prerequisites for time tracking, and then also, like, what does that mean for customers? Because I know we have a decent amount that use Employee Central timesheet, right? The current functionality within EC. And then can we also talk a little bit about the technology that the new product is being built on? And then lastly, and I know I'm throwing a bunch of stuff here at you, but what does that mean for time off and the innovation of that, which is still included in Employee Central?
Absolutely. Yeah, a lot of questions, great questions. And these are some of the questions that I've been getting as well from a lot of people in the field and in the market. Let's start off with the technology. So it's built on the SuccessFactors platform. So it's all the same technology as Employee Central.
Okay.
So what that means essentially is that, and also the reason I'm going to bring this together is that Employee Central is a prerequisite. So that the second, another part of your question, Employee Central is a prerequisite for using time tracking.
Yes.
So what that means is A, it's the same code line, it's the same technology, but B, also what the big advantage for that is that any configuration that you already have within Employee Central for timesheet, for example, will then be valid and can just be used for time tracking. So it means that when it comes to implementation, that should be a lot more straightforward. Obviously, there's a lot of new implementation and configuration that would need to be done for the new features within time tracking, but a lot of that would still be valid from what you already have with Employee Central. In terms of your question with time off, great question. So how the timesheet works right now. So currently within Employee Central, so our customers know, and some people may know, but let me explain. We have a timesheet and time off functionality. The time off functionality is remaining within Employee Central, and we have a very ambitious roadmap for a lot of enhancements for that. One example, in the previous release, we added taking time off and absences across midnight, which wasn't available before, and so that was something that customers really wanted to have, and we added that as well. Also, in terms of buying, selling leave, those kinds of things were added to time off, and there's a lot more to come there. So that's not going anywhere. The timesheet with Employee Central is also not going anywhere, but we're not going to be enhancing that timesheet anymore. All of the new enhancements, new functionality as of this coming release in May will be for timesheet will be within the time tracking product. So if customers are perfectly happy to use timesheet as it is right now and it meets their needs, that's what we're going to, they can still continue to do that. Of course, long term, what we're thinking of is that all of the new functionality coming in with time tracking is going to make the customers want to get that anyway. And so they'll hopefully, most of our customers will move over to time tracking when they see the value of that.
Yeah,
I don't know. Oh, and I think I think it was at least a 4-part question. I'm not quite sure if I got them all. But yes, time off will continue to get the innovation. And and one thing I also want to mention, I mentioned briefly about the implementation and hopefully the relative ease of that, given the fact that it's built on the same stuff as Employee Central. Obviously, time management and payrolls are very complex, right? So you'd never underestimate the amount of time it takes to set up and configure your system. So I'm not making light of that at all. But what I'm saying is that it should be a little easier based on that fact. Plus, also a little plug here that we have training for that and implementation training for partners, and also we have best practice material at rapid.sap.com, which is free of charge. So you can go there as well and get that information, and that's where we put a lot of information on how the best practices for an implementation.
Yeah, I've seen some of that stuff, and it's very good. Very good. So appreciate you answering that. I really threw a curveball at you with a lot of different questions, and You did a great job answering it. So hopefully that's makes it clear. And it's nice to see that it is all built on the same technology, right? And with the time off, which I think we have a pretty fair amount of customers on time off, right? And the fact that that is still included in the Employee Central license.
Definitely. I mean, let's face it, time off, that's everybody's favorite functionality, right? So everybody wants that, and everybody needs it. I mean, you need to be able to do that for legal reasons, and of course, you want to make it easy for your employees to take that time off. And again, this all fits into the employee experience, right? And the human experience management of how to make things easy, how to make sure your employees are not getting burned out. And we have some functionality coming up in the next release, which is going to give prompts and nudges to employees as well. Things, and then we have engagement cards and things that are going to say, hey, you haven't taken some time off in a few months, maybe you want to take, and then immediately it'll be on the homepage and they can just take that time off and go directly from that and book the time off directly from there. Similarly, the manager gets a notification on their homepage saying, hey, Imran's hasn't taken the time off, but now he's requesting it, go ahead and approve that. So there are a lot of me. Yeah, definitely. So there's a lot of stuff there that's coming in terms of time off. That's certainly we know how important it is for our customers, and there's a lot of more information and a lot more functionality coming there.
Yeah, and even timesheet, right? Like when I look at this area, because I've certainly seen it, and it's never in a silo, right? It's for me, very relevant for payroll, and I think from what I've seen, the direction of this is pretty clear in terms of what we need to build for our customers, right? I think there's been a lot of conversations with customers, and they've told us what they need to cover that large majority of use cases, and it's good. I've seen the plan, I've seen the outline, I've seen the roadmap. I know it's certainly a big one, and one of the items customers have been eagerly waiting for is clock terminal integration, right? I think that'll help a lot of customers with being able to integrate with their time clock. So it's a big ask. What's the latest on that?
Yeah, and again, thank you. That's a very interesting topic, because yes, customers have been asking for it. And again, going back to some of the not just European but other countries as well, and lots of states as well, even the US, also have similar regulations and laws coming or existing that you mean that you have to actually track your time correctly. So what better way than using clock terminal integration, which is clock terminals make it really easy and really simple to do that, and sort of have this documented time thing, which a lot of companies need for audits to make sure that they are complying with that. So what I'm excited to talk about is in our May release, we have some clock terminal integration coming out as an early adopter program. So a lot of customers will be able to take advantage of this. An early adopter program is for us to make sure that we're getting customer feedback as they start to use it, and they can start to use it in their productive system. So it's beyond a beta, but it's so they can actually use it and then give us feedback, and then we can make sure we get it right and even add improvements as we go. So our initial plans around that, we're going to be integrating into clock terminals, and I have to say any clock terminal, it's designed to be device agnostic. Nice. So any existing clock terminals the customers using, they can use that. We're validating that with a few partners right now as well who provide the clocks. So just to make sure that everything works across the board.
Yeah, quite a bit of work.
A lot of work, but as I say, we've done a lot of the work already, and I think that we're very excited to get that out there to our customers. And then later on in the year, we're planning on releasing this clock in, clock out functionality to the customers via the SuccessFactors mobile app as well, which is going to be huge.
That's critical
for our customers. Yeah, it's good for customers who are not necessarily on site. Think about where we've been working over the last year, and also crews and other people that are out and about, maybe also not in front of a terminal, maybe not able to get to a clock terminal or whatever it might be. You can choose different time types. You can put times for travel time, training time, all of these different things that you can do easily with the mobile device. And that's going to be part of the SuccessFactors mobile app, especially when you get the time tracking. So that we're very excited about that as well, and how that's going to help a lot of our customers.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's certainly been a big ask, and it's certainly been a big lift to get us there. So I'm certainly excited about it too, from what that means for our payroll customers as well, right? Having that as a offering, and then also having that as integrated to Employee Central Payroll as well, right?
Exactly. I mean, time and payroll are two sides of the same coin, right? They can't. They
Yep, absolutely,
one needs the
absolutely.
other. Yeah.
All right, so I got one last question for you. You also regularly touch base with our solution extension partners. You own the entire time pillar. So what's the latest with the workforce software, them being our primary solution extension for those, more complex use case? And for customers that are using that, what are some of the things that they can expect?
Definitely. So, and again, even though there have been some changes with our strategy around workforce software, has always remained a great partner for us, right? They've always been with us, and they've done a lot of work especially over the last year, on updating a lot of their features. Not least, they brought to market a great new user interface, which makes it really and added a lot of stuff to their mobile device as well, which makes it again really easy to use for that great customer experience, for that great employee experience. So yeah, I work very closely with them. We're doing a lot of work right now on enhancing a lot of the integration scenarios. Some examples, so for concurrent employment, global assignments, things like that, so that we're going to be able to add to that, so it make it easier for time tracking around those scenarios. And of course, really what it's geared to. Also, one thing I want to mention, that last year we also introduced a new solution, so absence and leave management, which is really geared towards supporting those really complex leave of absence cases, especially in North America, such as Family Medical Leave Act and other legislation, which is very complex, and you need to be able to track that information and get content, which Workforce provides as well, to make sure that that's done correctly, and you can make sure that you are in compliance with all the rules and regulations, which there are many. So that's very exciting. A lot of our customers need that as well. But one of the things is that with Workforce, and this goes back to what I was saying a little earlier, is that they are really great at supporting the customers who really need those really complex shift scheduling, shift swapping, and let's not forget forecasting.
Right.
Forecasting, everything changes so quickly, and forecasting is becoming far more important, especially if you're in an area, let's take retail, for example, right? You need to know, it's not just about forecasting how many, which staff you'll need at which location, but also when the demand is going to be spiking, right? So, and that could be based on so many things, and Workforce does a great job of tying that in. A simple example I like to think of is a major sporting event or a holiday, right?
Yep.
And you're in a grocery retail chain. You know that you maybe want to stock up on certain products around that time because the demand is going to spike. But you can also measure things like footfall, weather, all kinds of things that can change how things how you run operations day to day, and give you that flexibility to change things on the fly, whether that's just scheduling more people in certain areas, whether the last thing you want to do, I've worked retail in the past, and it's when you are understaffed, it's miserable. When you are overstaffed, it is boring and you are wasting money. So you don't want to be.
There's a fine line.
It really is, and this is what really helps to get that fine line. So there's a lot of stuff coming there that's going to make that a lot better, and that is an area, obviously, which is why we bring in our partners. For those, that's what they do. That's their bread and butter, right? In terms of just getting that done. So it's a great partnership, and there's a lot more to come there.
Good. And that's kind of interesting to me too, because that ties into two things. It ties into one, that employee experience angle, right? What you talked about, someone being overwhelmed and there's a never-ending line versus being bored, but it also ties into customer experience, right? And you being able to provide that right information will give you not only a better employee experience where you have more staff there, you can accommodate it so your people aren't miserable, but guess what? It also has an impact to your customers. You have the appropriate staffing so you can meet the demands of your customers, where they're not waiting in a 20-minute line before they go to that sporting event, and now they're late in the door, and like they're upset at you because of that. So It has
Exactly.
that
And
two-part
if you
angle,
think of it, all of that goes back to protecting the brand as well, right? So
for
you can
sure.
protect your brand in two ways. You can protect it by having the employees who are happy, are engaged, they're not stressed, they're great, and they're saying, this is a great place to work, I'm happy here, and you
Yeah.
retain your good employees. Then you also retain your brand reputation based on how the customers see you as well, right? Because they're getting a good service because the employees are happy. And I always want to go back to, people like Richard Branson, all those people that say that if you want happy customers, you need happy employees. And
Yep.
this is
Yep.
definitely a way around to do that. And I firmly believe that.
Yeah, agreed. And I think it's not talked about too often, kind of how big of a difference that makes with some pointed examples. So I really appreciate you giving us like a very specific example and then kind of tying that in to see a difference, because I think a lot of people talk about it and it's kind of fuzzy. But this is a very specific example that I certainly appreciated. So thanks for that.
And another example for that is that people often, and I joke about time off being the most important thing, right? Because we all enjoy vacation, we all like getting away from our work. But if you think about it, time tracking, time sheets is something that for many employees, they're doing 6 to 8 times a day. Right, they're integrating with that.
Right.
How many other parts of a HXM system or an HR system get that kind of interaction? Right, so it's so important to get this right, and if you get it right and it's a good and a simple experience for your employees, then everything else just falls into place from there.
Yeah, and it ties into so many other places too, right? Like not only, you taking a few days off, but sometimes you have to go out on leave for medical stuff and other things, and having a proper experience, because time is never in a silo either, right? It links to payroll. It might have to go to vendors if you have to go on disability, right? Like there's so many angles. And of course, the time off angle and time entry, it's a very interactive thing with your employees. And I liked what you said earlier with nudges to take time off, right? And providing more of that experience, because I can relate to that very much. I don't necessarily do the best job taking time off, and I think even for myself, I would appreciate that. So a lot of good stuff coming. So good.
And there's power in that, right? If you think about it, because it's coming from your company that's saying, look, we care about you and we want you to do this. It's not like, don't take time off and be that great employee who never takes time off. That's a myth, and that's
we gotta get away from that. We have to get away from that. Employers, employees, everyone, right? And just overall health and well-being, right? The prioritizing of that. So good.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
and there's one more thing I wanted to mention on that actually, and you just mentioned that in terms of payroll, and I think the integration we have with EC Payroll is also very important, because when you're talking about things like buying leave, selling leave, which can be integrated directly into payroll, which is great, because then you can actually then decide, okay, if I need to purchase extra leave or sell extra, I can decide
financial flexibility.
Flexibility. I can decide how many pay periods I want that spread over, or within. So it all comes together, right? In terms of just like we said before, the two sides of the same coin, bringing that together and having that direct integration makes it a lot easier for the HR department, for the payroll department, and for the employee.
Yeah, because you have to come at it of the angle of the employee, not time or payroll or any of those things. So that's certainly key, and that's our HXM messaging too, right?
Most definitely.
Great. All right. Well, thanks a lot for joining me today, Paul. Appreciate all of your insight. I mean, to me, this is very helpful. So I think many of the listeners will find it helpful too. I think it answers a ton of questions. You talked about legalities, marketplace trends. I mean, tremendously helpful. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Always a pleasure. And again, so always happy to talk about this stuff. I sometimes get a little bit overexcited about it, geek out a little bit. But like I said, it's important stuff, and it affects everybody every day. And that's what makes the difference, I think, is knowing that you can affect people's life and make them better. So.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Thanks a lot, Paul. Have a good one. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye for now.